What's going on? Welcome to Forge Father FM, aka Man on a Mission Radio. We've got another success session here with my man, Coach Manny, coming from Canada. What's going on, brother? How we feeling?
Well, hanging out with the polar bears and building igloos up here in the
Yes,
Great White
sir.
North.
Yes, sir. What is the temperature up there right now for you guys?
Actually, pretty mild today. It's like 0 or +1 degrees Celsius. So
Nice.
don't ask me to translate that into Fahrenheit because I'm really not sure how that all works.
Yeah, buddy. It's
But it's
just
warm.
it's not super cold, so
Oh, no.
that's a plus. Good. Awesome, brother. So excited to have you on. Been crushing it in the program for a good bit of time now, and you've actually come on board the team, and you've been a part of the team for a while and helping guys move themselves forward and create more impact in the world. So I'm excited to have you on and have you share what's been happening in your world, man. So
Thanks for having me.
yeah, absolutely. So catch us up. What's been going on in life? How's progress, and what are the big wins that we've been achieving as of late?
Well, as of late, with the new job and everything else, it's been a lot about just maintenance and, well, when I say maintenance, I mean maintaining strong, healthy routines, even when times are very busy and hectic and demanding. So I guess therein lies one of my biggest wins within this program. As you know, I think it was late October or beginning of November 2018 when I joined. So, going on 4 years at the end of this year. So that'll be something. And, but yeah, time management's been, or was, I guess, for the longest time, one of my big Achilles heel. Always running under those excuses. I don't have time. I never have time. It's not about having time. It's about making it. So yeah, I mean, that's been the big thing. My new job, still being able to get the workouts in, still being able to get my nutrition dialed in every day, mindset, all that stuff. It's all about just time management and planning. And so then that's going well. I mean, right now my top goals aren't training related in terms of like hitting any kind of benchmarks on the physical side. But at the same time, I'm still slowly getting stronger. I'm still slowly getting leaner, and body fat is still slowly declining. So that's going very well. My mindset's sharp as it's ever been, and given that 41 years old, I feel better than I did when I was 25. So I think we're definitely on the right track.
Yeah, buddy. That's awesome. And you mentioned, the number one thing in your life right now isn't necessarily like training performance, things like that, which for a lot of guys in the program, that isn't the number one focus. The training is the training. It's a part of what we do. It's a part of who you are, because it's going to help make you who you are, right?
Right.
So let's talk about, when you first came in, because you mentioned time management, and that's one of the biggest barriers that a lot of guys face. And one of the excuses that they use as to why they don't have the results that they want in life, whether it be physical, mental, relationships, or whatever, financial. For you, kind of talk about where you were before and what you've done to overcome the time management issue up to this point.
Yeah, for sure. And it is just that, an excuse. I mean, obviously, extenuating circumstances, sometimes you don't have time. But to say that that's a 7-day-a-week thing, I think is bullshit.
Yeah.
I didn't believe that at the time before I started the Brotherhood. I was, very convinced that I was a dad. I had 3 kids and full-time job, and it was like an easy catchphrase. I don't have time for myself. It's At the time it seems like a logical excuse, but when you really stand and look back and look at it, it was just an easy cop out. And it was a means to not admit to myself that I wasn't exerting the discipline I needed to actually manage my time effectively. And I think that's where the biggest change happened, is when you actually like look in the mirror and admit to yourself that it's not everything on the exterior that's stopping you from ascending or being better or being healthier. It's yourself that's, letting yourself fall under these excuses that you don't have time. And if you want, there's a million and one things you make time for in a day, whether it's sit on the couch after work for half an hour or go out with a buddy for a beer afterward. Like there's so many things that we make time for that we deem are non-negotiables, but quite often I guess we just let ourselves fall out of that list of non-negotiables, and yeah, we forget about our health and our nutrition and all that good stuff, relationships even. uh, all it takes is it's self-accountability.
Yeah.
It's like it's admitting that you are the problem and you are your own obstacle when it comes to, living a better lifestyle.
Hmm, that is true. That is very, very true. But that's a hard admission to make
Yep.
when so many people are living lives blaming everything else but themselves, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned you're 41 now and you feel better than you did at 25, and you're ex-military.
Yep.
So you were definitely in tip top shape when you were in the military. So here's a question.
Yep.
If you had to get shipped out to boot camp tomorrow, how would you fare?
I'd probably kick a lot of asses.
Oh yeah, I love
um,
that.
Boot camp, yeah, it was certainly a wake up call. I mean, I was 18 years old. I was weighing somewhere around 220, and probably at least 30% body fat.
Hmm.
So my first month in boot camp was very painful. But after it was done, I came out of boot camp. It was only 10 weeks, but I came out of there about 165 pounds, and maybe 20% body fat.
Yeah,
By the time I finished infantry school, which is a 16-week course, I was about 175, but probably about 9% body fat.
yeah,
So yeah, in the span of 1 year, I definitely turned around.
yeah,
But that said, once I got out of the military at the age of 22, it didn't take much more than a year to just lose everything I had worked
yep,
for the
yep,
3 years that I was there.
yep. I think that goes to show you what structure can do,
Yeah,
what accountability can do, and what consistency can do in short periods of time, either it be negative, effect or positive effect.
yep, yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, they don't give you the option of choice
yeah.
when you're in training.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those
So
morning runs are mandatory, whether you like it
mhm.
or not.
Yep. And we see that a lot. Obviously, you being a part of the program for, the better half of 4 years, right? You've seen a lot of guys come in and they have a very similar story, ex-military, had all that discipline, had all that accountability, had all the support, had the mandatory, daily non-negotiables basically. And then it's, you get out, you start a normal, profession, have have a couple kids, that discipline kind of goes away a little bit. That structure, that accountability is gone. So it's quite easy for a guy to let himself just kind of drift back into, a place he doesn't want to be. So,
Absolutely.
and you mentioned, when you came on board, time management, self accountability. Talk about some of the strategies that you've used to deal with the time management side of things. Obviously, getting the discipline dialed in, but for you, and you worked crazy hours, so that's another big excuse is, oh, I work a night, a night shift, and so my sleep patterns are all messed up. And yeah, it's a real thing that you got to deal with, but there's ways to actually deal with it, right? So
Yep.
talk a little bit about that, because I know we got a lot of guys that come in and that's what they're struggling with on the front end is crazy work hours.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a big problem, and certainly, and look, I'm not downplaying it by any means. It's tough working around night shifts and
Mhm.
keeping your routine dialed in around that. Let's face it, we're not built to work at night and sleep all day. It's not how the human organism works. But at the same time, you got to make it work. So
Mhm.
the big strategy for me, I think rest, like sleep itself, if you can get a decent handle on a solid sleep routine around the rotating shift work, it's probably half the battle right there. And I mean, yourself, if you're not well rested, it doesn't take very long for the rest to fall apart at the seams.
Mhm.
Your mindset goes to shit, your appetite goes to shit, everything goes down the drain if you're running on no sleep for any more than 2 or 3 days at a time. Um, but a big part of that too is having a decent support system at home. Uh, but mainly, and I think it applies to day shift working as well. It's eliminating all those unnecessary things out of your daily routine, recognizing where the needs are as far as your nutrition, your training, and it's just about planning. But I guess at the foundation of everything, it had to be the admission that I had to stop all the excuses and I had to be ready to like shed all my preconceived notions that I had and actually like trust the process that you put in place and do the training. But I guess if you need 8 hours of sleep every day, well then the same applies if you're working night shifts.
Mhm.
So it's just about managing your time. Treat your night shifts like you treat your day shifts. If you work 7 to 7, you go to bed at 9 and wake up at 5, then do the reverse when you're working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Same thing, get home, go to bed for 9 a.m. and make sure you sleep till 5. So find a dark
Yep.
room. If you don't have a dark room, make your room dark. I have cardboard on my bedroom windows for that purpose alone.
Mm-hmm.
My bedroom's got to be pitch black. I've got a big industrial size fan in my bedroom to create white noise. That way, exterior noise, especially I work on the weekends. I'm working nights right now on the weekends. So my kids are all home during the day.
Yep.
And I'm still getting 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep every day and you would expect that'd be tough with kids at home, but
Yep.
again, it's also part of the support system. They know I
Yep.
need my sleep. So,
Yep.
they understand, and you got to communicate that with your family members, roommates, whatever the case may be.
Yep. That's huge.
Make it work for yourself.
Yep. That communication. As far as, and those are some good tips as far as the sleep goes. Got to make it a priority, but then, how can you improve your environment for better sleep? That's something that a lot of people don't think about is, you could be getting 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, but in a fully lit room, if the sun's coming in, it's the body's natural reaction. Like we don't even have to have our eyes open. This is interesting about just light in general, like UV light. And we've covered this extensively in the Brotherhood before on some weekly trainings, but we talk about how to improve sleep quality. So even if you're sleeping normal hours at night, try to eliminate as many light sources as possible. So like your cell phone is going to give you that UV light, and that tricks the brain in thinking, oh, the sun's coming up, right? So we should wake up. Body starts releasing cortisol. Same thing with sunlight, obviously. So if you're trying to sleep in a fully lit room during the day, that sunlight is definitely going to disrupt your sleep.
Yep.
I don't know how you could do it. I mean, if you're super tired, yeah, you'll fall asleep, but it's kind of like when you fall asleep with the TV on or, something like that. It's just like subconsciously it's there. It's interesting, but yeah, improve your environment. And I think that's the other big one is just communication, as you mentioned.
Yeah, communication. And I mean,
Kids and
again, like adopt healthy habits, like put your damn cell phone away or turn it off. Don't have it by your bed because, bill collectors and family members outside of your, immediate circle might not know that you're working nights and stuff like that. So you're more prone to getting phone calls and distractions during the day.
Yep.
Make that rest priority. And then obviously your nutrition has to be dialed in around that as well.
Yeah.
And again, the same for the workouts. When I'm working day shifts, I always work out in the morning when I'm fasted. Well, it's no different when I'm working nights. I do my workout when I first wake up in the afternoon.
Yep.
And same routine applies. I wake up, it's a cold shower, and then it's a couple of minutes of meditation. Then I get into the garage, do my little workout, whatever that day is, and then get a hot shower in, get a little bit of a food in my gut, and then head to work.
Yep.
You got to keep those routines. Even if you're flip-flopping continental shifts, that's what I did at Sandvik for the first 2 years I was there. If you don't happen on that overnight, it takes a long time, and it takes dialing in, tweaking, and trying. But if you never try, then you'll never get it.
Yeah, exactly. I think what you just shared there is pure gold. It's like when your shifts rotate, you always have a go-to wake up routine.
Yep.
And it's hard to wrap your brain around it. It's easy to think about, okay, if you're waking up at 5 a.m. every single day, boom, you got your AM routine done by 6 a.m., whatever, you're ready to attack the day. You've already taken time for your mind. Your nutrition is probably all laid out, ready to rock and roll. You get your fitness in. You've already stacked a number of wins for yourself, and then you can attack the day. But if it's okay, you go to work at 8:00 p.m., you probably need to be waking up. We'll just say 6 p.m. Treat it the same. You get up. That's your wake up routine.
Yep.
Just woke up, take an ice cold shower, do some meditation, do some journaling, whatever. Take time for yourself, work out, get your nutrition in check, and attack the rest of the hours ahead, because that's really what it is hours. It's not night and day. It's just hours, right? So but you mentioned nutrition, and I always like to know what guys take and use for them to create consistency. So what really helped you with consistency when it came to the nutrition side of things?
Well, I mean, for admittedly, I haven't really tracked in probably quite a while. Like, every couple of weeks, I'll track a couple of days just to kind of make sure I'm still, pretty well dialed in because everything's basically become intuition based
Yep.
now.
Yep.
But yeah, for like the first 2 years, tracked religiously, got to know my body, got to know all the foods that I prefer, that I react to the best, because that's another thing that you'll learn is you'll know how to recognize your biomarkers,
Yep.
especially once you've been doing it for a while. You'll know what carbs react well. You'll know what proteins you prefer. Like all those things are all going to come with time and practice. But that was the big thing, was just tracking and getting to
Yep.
know my body. And you got to work within your finances too. Not everybody's got the money to buy all the best stuff, so you got to make do with what you got. But that doesn't
Yeah.
stop you from trial and error. Always trial and error.
Yep.
And don't ever stop changing things up until you find a good fit.
Yep.
For me, like for the night shifts specifically, and I'm sure you remember this discussion, which I think it was like 2 years ago. I was having a hard time with my appetite working night shifts, but that's because I was trying to transfer my feeding routine into my work night. And eating while I'm at work on night shifts just doesn't jive at all. So like that's good. You got to be mindful of that too. So for the most part, my nutrition, although my sleep pattern changes with my days and night shifts, my eating habits stay all within the day time. That's when I get the majority of my nutrition in. And that by far, in terms of nutritionally speaking, that was like the biggest game changer for me. So I'm basically working the bulk of my night shift. I'm working in a fasted state, the same as I would be sleeping nighttime. It leaves smaller windows though to get my nutrition in the day. That's not fun, but the outcome is well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually means I eat a 1,200, 1,300 calorie meal when I come home from my night shift, about an hour and a half before I go to bed.
Yep.
So, and that's also part of my sleeping routine for the daytime. Very, very backloading on the starchy carbs on that meal before sleeping during the day, because I get solid sleep.
Yep.
And some melatonin helps too.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, some more gold nuggets there. As far as the nutrition as a whole, when you first started, you put in all the time, all the effort to, dial in on your nutrition. You discovered how the process works. It requires tracking, weighing and measuring your food, figuring that out. Do you have to do it for the rest of your life? You're walking, talking proof that you absolutely do not need to. And you actually benefit from all of that work that you've put in on the front end, because now you don't even have to track, but you pretty much know where you're at. That intuitive. That's really kind of leads to ultimate freedom with your nutrition, but you got to earn that, right? Like most people, they want to do 30-day diet and then think they're completely, dialed in with their nutrition, where that's not the case, right? So
no.
It takes a little bit more than that, but it pays off in the end. Would you rather have long-term sustainable results, or the constant start and stop, trying to figure it out, trying to rely on, a diet detox or something stupid to that nature, right? So
yeah, that's right.
But no, that's some good information, man. That I know if people apply, they'll definitely reap some rewards from it. So, but outside of that, Manny, like what else do you have in mind that you'd like to share? Any other big ahas that you've taken away?
Yeah, well, too many to count really. But like one of the big ones is, and I mean, I'm sure this is common in like 99% of men, especially when you get into your mid 30s, going into your 40s. Well, I think society builds this whole idea generally as a rule. But I think it's kind of a misconception that we all have, is that as we get older, our metabolism naturally slows down. And it's an easy one to believe, but what we don't really ever realize is that it's not really age related at all. It's all habit related. And you could have sold me on that idea 5 years ago, and well, couldn't have just sold me. I mean, I lived it. I don't know how many times I said it. Well, I got 30, 35 years old and I started getting fat. It happens. You get old and you get fat. But then, like as soon as I started learning what you had to offer, what the program had to offer in terms of all the understanding on metabolism and how everything works, it's counterintuitive because you think eating more would mean gaining more weight, but you kind of realize that the reason you're getting fatter is because you got shitty eating habits. You're way under eating, so your body is in a perpetual state of starvation. So it's accumulating fat as a means to survive. That's all that is. And the minute you increase your metabolic output with training, then your body starts needing that extra food intake, and it fires your metabolism right back up, and you're off to the races. It was an amazing realization, uh, for sure. Probably the biggest one is that, and then the freedom that comes from all of this understanding and knowledge is that I can just about quite literally, control my body weight at will.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to put on 10 pounds, I know how to put on 10 pounds. If I want to
Yep.
keep 10 pounds off or lose another 10 pounds, I know how to do it.
Yep. Yep.
I can do it just by taking out my fitness pal and, track my macros for about a week with adjusted numbers, and go from there. It's
Yep.
that easy, but it takes time
Yep.
to get to that
Takes
point.
time. Yep.
Sure.
That is key, man. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head there as far as, the misconception, and I guess the limiting self-belief, if you will, on when we age, and everything out there is trying to convey that same message too. It's like, go get testosterone therapy. It's like, yeah, you can certainly do that, but let's dig a little bit deeper below the surface and figure out why the hell this is happening. It's not because you're aging. Like, yeah, it's natural. Your testosterone is naturally going to decline, and it is what it is when it comes to aging. But let's look at your habits. Let's look at how much you actually move day in and day out. Because back when you're in your 20s, you can't compare yourself to your 20s and your 40s. You just can't. Because when you're in your 20s, number one, you're a lot younger, but chances are you're a hell of a lot more active. You're up running around, not sitting at a desk all freaking day, and didn't have as much stress to deal with, with everything that you deal with when you become a family man, right? So it really does come down to those habits, behaviors, routines, and your movement. Movement is huge, man. So, but
believing that you can make a change too, right? It's
Mhm.
Again, we're all the creators of our own chaos in life. At the end of the day, it always boils down to the choices that you make. And if you choose to believe all the ads that say the dad bods are in fashion, even though you might not believe that really, like, truly in your core, just hearing it repeated enough
Mhm.
is probably enough to stop a lot of men from actually taking those next steps and
Yep.
getting better.
Yep.
Right? Because it's like, well, if everybody else is going to accept me like this, then I might as well
Yep.
just deal with it.
The surrender
Yeah,
mindset
that's
to
the word right there.
being average and being mediocre, and
Yep.
that is what the masses choose to do because that's the easy thing to do. Basically requires little to no effort. So,
Yeah.
but then you got to ask
Comfortable
yourself,
thing
like,
to
what do you truly want? Is that what you want for yourself? So, but no, good stuff, Manny. I appreciate you sharing your side, and
Okay.
it's been a great journey thus far, and I'm looking forward to everything else we got
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely.
It's been a lot of big things that I've seen you go through, not only physically, and a lot of times guys looking, from the outside in on this program, they think it's just fitness and nutrition, but I'll just tell you right now, what you've been able to accomplish has been about a whole lot more than that. Like fitness and nutrition are just two little things that have helped us push forward. Because when we think about the things that you've overcome over this period of time, it's not just getting fit, but getting yourself fit and strong and healthy has helped you overcome all of the other things that we've had to deal with. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Well, that's, again, I guess that's part of the misconception too, right? I thought that's all I needed.
Mhm.
I thought it was only about, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. That was my
Yep.
big thing.
Yep.
And I thought that's all it was. It was just, I need to get my nutrition and my fitness in check. It wasn't until I started this program that I realized that those are only two blocks or two parts of the problem.
Mhm.
That's a much wider problem. And really
Yep.
at the onset of everything for me, it's more about mindset and planning and just self-limiting beliefs.
Yep.
I basically lived off of those, for the better part of a decade
Yep.
before I joined the program. So yeah, it's everything. Everything's encompassed: the relationships, the mindset, the planning, the nutrition, the training, everything. It has to all mesh together. Otherwise,
Yep.
as soon as you start missing a piece, then it becomes harder and harder to
Yep.
keep your shit together, for sure. And I appreciate everything you've done for myself,
Mhm.
and for every man that's in the brotherhood today. I can surely attest to the same.
Yeah, a lot of amazing stories.
Oh yeah.
Truly grateful to be a part of it, and excited for what holds within the future. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes, man, for sure.
Mhm.
I'm glad to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Manny. I appreciate your time, brother. We'll be seeing you on the inside for sure.
Sounds good, my friend.
Later.
Cheers.